He knew that for their future he had to stop. His heart started beating faster as Van stepped on the stairs. He quickly yet silently walked into the room and laid on the bed, pretending to sleep. Jungkook was getting impulsive. He was trying to create some suspense that would force her to react. Occupying her bed was one of these, and the divorce papers he told to prepare was actually the paper for their marriage registration. Come on, Van, come quickly. It's just the second floor. Closing his eyes, he was waiting for Van. Van silently entered into the room through the already opened door. She looked at Jungkook's sleeping figure, couldn't stop the tears from flowing down, glistening her cheeks. Van snorted. Jungkook opened his red eyes forcefully, which didn't want to face the lights again. You could wake me up. Van, where is your assistant? Jungkook, maybe. Let me call him. I know I'm consuming your time. Unlocking his phone, Jungkook dialed his assistant's number, and literally within a blink, he was present at the door. With an envelope in his hand, sorry, Mr. and Mrs. John, he apologized while placing the papers on the table for signing. Let me go through this. Wen was about to take the papers when conscious Jungkook stopped her. You don't need to read this if you were curious about the alumni thing. You can give me a list instead. Van could feel her emotional turbulence inside her. She tried to not to blink, cause even that movement might cause her breakdown in front of him. Jungkook's soul had almost left his body as Van wanted to read the marriage registration papers. He sighed in relief as he could stop her from doing that. Holding her hand, Jungkook gently pulled her towards him and made her seated on his lap. He kissed her skin while tucking some of the hair in front of her face behind her ear. Why don't we try something romantic to celebrate this signing ceremony? Jungkook teased her. Give me the papers, please. I want to sign it as soon as possible. Van managed to speak with her shaky voice. Jungkook knew that Van might choke him when she would got to know that he was teasing her, trying to irritate her all the time, but he didn't want to lose these chances. Why don't we sign it together? He told her, making his grip tighter on her waistline. The assistant offered them pens to sign the papers. Jungkook consciously diverted her mind with a strong yet seductive gaze while signing. After a few signatures, the assistant told them to stop and took the papers back. Putting into the envelope, he stepped out of the room with a smile on his face. Take rest, Mr. and Mrs. John. Why is he still calling me Mrs. John when I'm not anymore? When asked Jungkook while trying to get up from his lap. Jungkook chuckled. The papers are needed to be submitted to the court. One needs the court's approval to tackle this kind of situation. Now tell me, what do you want as alumni? No, nothing. Believe me, I didn't plan this. Staying with you, being committed with you, get married to you in a completely different culture, being your wife, being addressed as Mrs. John. I didn't plan that. I literally don't want anything as alumni. It would rather remind me of your existence in my life again and again. Van tried to speak while her voice trembled. Van's heart skipped a beat as she was assured that Jungkook was still her husband, at least until they received the court's approval. By none other than Jungkook himself. A soft pull and she was in Jungkook's embrace. I am ready to give you my everything to make this moment memorable. You have to name one thing you want from me. Jungkook put her head on the crook of his neck and continued tapping on her shoulder. Van slowly melted into his hug and wrapped her legs around his frame. I want you. I know I am not eligible to. Van broke down in silent sobbings. Jungkook smiled while trying to stabilize her constantly shaking body that was being wrapped around his torso. Why aren't you asking me back? I also want something in alumni. I guess I'm giving away the happiness you wanted, she answered. Jungkook, but that's you think that I need. You should ask me like I did. When? Tell me, what do you want in alumni? Jungkook. I have a good big list. I would like to see the red powder on your forehead. When? But that's for married women and after signing the papers. Would it be appropriate? Jungkook. Shh. I haven't completed. Don't interrupt. Van. What's next? Jungkook. You would never resign from the hospital because of some random stupid reason. And even if you have any complaint, you can discuss with the faculty. Van. Wow. Don't you think you are portraying the character of a bounded by promise? Jungkook. Wife and are not the same words. The meaning of the respective words are not same too. Why are you using them while forming the sentence in your mind when you don't have a clear idea about the meaning of the words? His voice was powerful yet cold. When? Cook? What if the papers would not be submitted to the court? I would not need to follow this then. Jungkook. Then we will be husband and wife. We will live our lives as any other couples do, but this time I want the papers to be submitted. For me, for you, for us, and don't blame me. You were the one who told me to prepare the papers as my assistant addressed you as Mrs. John. When, yeah, blame me for every blunder in your life. If you have constipation, blame Van. If you have loose motions, blame Van. Jungkook. But the food was good, normal, and my digestive system too. You don't need to worry for that, Dr. Van. And the third thing on my list. Van, bro, I'm not a millionaire like you. Jungkook. You are wrong, Van. I'm not a millionaire. I'm a billionaire and you are not allowed to throw your phone away. Van froze at her spot as Jungkook handed over her the phone. Jungkook, I'm still your husband and that's the end of the list. And I'm tired. I want and I need my wife beside me. Without her, I can't fall asleep, so come on, wifey, lay down beside me. It's easy to say lay down beside me. But Chan Jungkook, two person don't share bed right after signing the divorce papers. One spoke, but the next moment she was on the bed while Jungkook hovered over her. Why don't you break the stereotype, wifey? Jungkook spoke and got up from the bed, locked the door from inside and laid down on the bed beside Van. Don't worry, you can rest. Just close your eyes, relax, Van. He consoled her. If I close my eyes, I don't know when I'm gonna wake up. I'm just too exhausted. One could feel a pair of hands, her under the thin seat, while her legs were also stuffed between a pair of masculine thighs. I guess I should do my husband duties properly. He whispered in her ears and unclasped her. Wow, black under black camisole? In this dark room, wifey. I like this combination. He teased her. Van closed her eyes and covered her face with the to hide her face under the dim light. Jungkook took off his clothes and laid down beside her wearing a pair of t-shirt and shorts. Stop moving, Van. I really wanna rest. Close your eyes and don't move, he whispered, again while tickling the curve of her waist. But at this point, Van's eyelids refused and soft snores filled the room. Wrapping his arm around her waistline, Jungkook closed his eyes and soon fell asleep.